Hi everyone, today is September 23rd, 2017, and this is the Duel Assessment, your podcast for Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Links. My name is Green Ranger.
And I'm DeckTech.
And it's been a pretty cool week. A lot of news, new card set. Next week, we are expecting the big update that we've been awaiting for. And, of course, we've been both playing tons of PvP and been on fire. DeckTech, you've been doing pretty well, right?
Yes, I finally did it after a week, which took about 40 wins worth of my sanity, bouncing between Legend 1 and 2. I finally got to grinding, it was actually, I got to King of Games, was the end of that sentence.
Right.
And it was actually right about like a day or two after I just told you, like, oh, I give up on grinding. This is, it was like, this has made me insane. I'm so pissed. It's so frustrating to try to grind like this. So I'm just not even going to try anymore unless I just casually get to Legend 2 or Legend 3 or something like that.
Right.
And then I did. Like, I won like the next 5 games. I was like, oh, okay. I guess I'll play some more. And then from Legend 2 to Legend 3, I lost, I think, 1 game. So it took me 40 wins to get from Legend 1 to Legend 2 for the third time. And then once I got it that third time, it only took me 15 wins with the final deck that I came up with, which was a tweak on the Toon Barrel Dragon 3-star demotion that I've been talking about, and which people who have been paying attention to the meta are pretty familiar with at this point. But my version's a little bit different, and I used it to get to King of Games, so I'm going to talk about it a little bit more later in the Duel School.
Great.
And also, I've been doing the tower event. That's not as exciting, so we're gonna talk about that too, I guess.
Yeah.
How about you? How are you up to? Or what
Yes.
Are you up to?
So I'll talk about the tower event first because I actually did that in one day. Not like doing all the missions, but I got to level the floor 30 in the first day, so I've been pretty lazy about that event. But in PvP, got to Legend for the first time, and Legend 1, the Legend 1 climbing wasn't bad for me because I actually got like a win streak right away, and I was barely in Legend 2, like I was just there for 5 games and I won them all, and then I've been in Legend 3 for about the last 3 or 4 days, maybe 3 days, and I can't get to King of Games. I always lose on the penultimate game. That happened again last night. I lose on the fourth in the row game. And there's like a few different decks I lose to, but one of them that is notable and annoys me is the Merrick Right Back At You deck, direct attack deck. And I've been pretty much playing 2 different decks. It's Red Eye Zombies or No World Can Resist Psychics. And I actually switched over to a deck that the world champion Timmy Chu put up, a Red Eye Zombie deck there. So now I'm playing 3 different decks. His version doesn't run Mirror Wall, so that's kind of the deal breaker. But I'm still trying out the deck to see if I can get to King of Games. Yeah. But
Well, you have a whole week, man. You can do it.
we'll see. I just don't want to go insane again, or like for the first time.
Yeah, it's not the best.
But we're done playing the game, right? We're done.
Yeah, we beat the game. It was a good run, guys.
Good run.
Done with the game. Yeah.
Oh yeah, another thing. I got to stage 45 in the staging up. I actually got there last week, but I was afraid that the standard duelists would be too difficult. But it turns out they're not. So yeah, stage 45, and I just wanted more gems for the new card, so that's why I did it. So
Yeah, nice. I should do that too.
yeah, given the new world, there's going to be, I think we're starting over a new stage, but we'll talk about that later. Alright, this section's called Reviews and Emails and Patrons. We got a new 5-star iTunes review from a listener called Sophering, I think. We're not exactly sure when it came, but we don't check the reviews all the time, so sorry if this is late. The review reads, in quotes, good listening if you like Duel Links. Good listening if you like Duel Links. Always good info on what's going on in app. Yeah, thank you very much. We really appreciate the kind words, and it really helps us get more visible. It made your day. I think you're working.
Oh yeah, I was. I was working. Was supposed to be working, but was actually working on these show notes, and I just happened to check it to see if we had anything, and yeah, I was super pumped. Short and sweet and beautiful. Brought a tear to my eye.
Oh man, we feel good. Yeah, in case people tune out at the end, any 5-star reviews are a great way to help us at no cost to you. It helps us get more visibility out there. So there are a lot of podcasts for the trading card game of Yu-Gi-Oh! And it's hard for us to, show up and make a name for ourselves. So yeah, the reviews go a long way. Even if you say nothing, 5 stars is pretty cool. It'll help us a lot. And also, if you want to help us monetarily, so we can actually get packs and hire an artist and get DeckTech a mic that isn't the one in his computer, any of those things, you can help us at patreon.com/duel_assessment. Yeah, the Electric Overload I've put on hold. I just need one more card, one more Ice Barrier Gentella to play that deck, but the new set came in, so I can't play Ice Barriers yet.
Yeah, well, you're making the King of Games push without it anyway, so, there's that.
Yep. So yeah, anything would help, reviews or Patreon, we would really appreciate it, if you like what we're doing.
Even just, like following us on Twitter, telling your friends to follow us, all of that kind of stuff, it helps us get out there more so that we can reach more people and bother them about our Patreon and reviews and stuff. And also it just makes us feel good.
Yeah, it keeps us doing things. It keeps us doing this. I think that's what. Yeah. So yeah, that's much appreciated. Now we're gonna move on to news. This week in esports, Eisenhart Limited Ltd, YouTuber and Twitter friend, is hosting a 16-man tournament as we record. It was Mountain Time, so it's right now. Follow us on Twitter. And we could retweet stuff like that if we see anything notable. We followed some of the more high-profile players like Tutpup and Timmy recently, so we're going to retweet some of their stuff if we see it. And you can give Eisenhart a follow at IZON Heart LTD. It's cool to grow our community and to share each other's stuff. Guns Blazing is also hosting a tournament today. He's a pretty big name guy. First time holding a tournament. 16 Legend or King of Game members of his Discord. Oh, we could have done it. We're Legend and or King of Games.
It's true, and I even registered as Legend / as King of Games in his Discord because you have to show proof to the mods.
Right.
But I couldn't really compete in the tournament, so plus I'm sure they were pretty limited on space. He has a lot of people in there, so. Next time, Guns.
If you've never been in a tournament before, just know it'll take a few hours at least. 16 is not too many people, but just know that you'll have to set a set amount of time, or else if you leave, it's going to be a free win for someone else. So just know that you'll need a free afternoon or something.
Yeah. Speaking of, there's one coming up tomorrow. Do you want to try it out?
Right. The Reddit tournament, bragging rights only tournament, will take place tomorrow, September 24th. So if you listen to this and you want to join those typically have a bigger pool. It's time to check it out and sign on Battlefy. We have the link right here. There's no limits on Legend or King of Games, I believe. It's just for everyone. Yeah. And hopefully we get to report on these results next week. Alright. There is a new resource called duelingbook.com, and this website has been around for a while, but I actually saw DK streaming, and he said, let's open Dueling Book. So It's basically what he uses to stream to show pictures of cards, but it's basically a way to look at every card in the game, and it updates itself to the TCG, so you can see some cards that aren't even in Duel Links. It's just a good way to look at the cards and also build a deck. So you could put the cards in your collection and put them in your deck. And even if there are Datamine cards, you could try to see, like, oh, if this card's going to come out, let's see how this future deck would look with the new cards. So, and especially with GX, there's going to be new characters with confirmed cards. So you could say, oh, when I get my Alexis to level 25, I could build this deck. So, pretty cool thing. DuelingBook.com. A bunch of things were announced overnight. It's daytime in Japan, but when we were sleeping at the Tokyo Game Show, some of these things were announced at the game show, and some of them were just updates to the game. But one of them is that the game updated to version 2.0, and this is something you have to manually update. It's not one of the required things, but it will be required on the 28th. So, version 2.0, and this is mostly a fix for the GX World updates. And right away, you can auto-duel a standard duelist, or someone even a legendary duelist, I believe, that's roaming around. You can auto-duel them from the beginning. So there's two buttons now, duel and auto-duel. So you don't have to press auto-duel later on in the game when you start. Notable that you can't use restart or any of those abilities, so it has to be like a passive ability to be taken advantage of the auto-duel. There's a new game app icon. Kaiba is now the cover boy. I think it makes sense because Yami Yugi's supposed to be gone by GX. Like, he leaves Yugi. Yugi's his own guy now. Like, after that series ends. Yeah, they separate, and then they duel, and then he disappears into Egypt or something. He dies. And there's also new AI. Some users have said that the standard duelists would now attack with their weaker monsters on your face down. So they try to maximize the direct damage to your face. And we talked about whether this is a good or bad thing, but it might even out, or they might just take more damage. I don't know. Yeah.
Right. So it depends on what you are playing with. It would be worse for you if the AI had just kind of gotten an edge on you and they're pushing face, because it gives them more damage to you, which means probably one or two fewer turns to try to recover. But it'd be better for you if you happen to have a big face down guy, because then it means that they take damage to themselves, unless maybe you're farming, and then you don't want them to hurt themselves either. So it's an interesting switch in the AI. I don't know if it's necessarily better or worse for the players, if it's a better or worse AI, because sometimes I decide to attack with my smaller guy or my bigger guy, depending on what I think they have face down. So it's just something that you should be aware of when you're kind of playing against the computer, and, what do you think that the computer is going to do?
Right. There's been an announcement of more PvP events in 2018, 3 Kaiba Cups, another World Championship Series. I think that's what WCS stands for. It's the whoever's number 1. And 2 other mysterious events. So they're growing the game. That's what it is.
And it also looked, at the picture that I saw was in Japanese, so because it was from the Tokyo Gaming Show. So I don't know for sure, but it kind of looked like all of those events would lead to one event that they would all kind of culminate in. So
Counting
the way
points?
that I was reading it, yeah, maybe. But the way that I was reading it was like the first through 5th place in each Kaiba Cup goes to the World Champs, and then the 1st through 10th in the World Champ qualifiers goes to the World Champ Finals, and then the 2 other events, and then you have a best of 32 or a best of 64 or something at the actual World Champs Finals, I guess.
Okay,
It's kind of how I was seeing it, because
it
showed like
it's a flow chart.
Right, and they all kind of led up into one big thing on the top. So I I think that they're probably all ways to get to the World Champ Finals, maybe? It'd be kind of cool.
Yeah. I realized I could use Google Translate, and like it does this thing where you put Japanese, and then on your phone it automatically translates to English. I should have done that, but I need to download Japanese first, so I can't do it.
Next time.
Yeah. And new data mine stuff. New skills have been data mined by XOF, who pretty much does all the data mine for the community. We have the link to the picture there, but they're just code names for the new skills. So just pulling up the picture right here. Evolve and devolve. That's just straight out of Hearthstone. But there's a skill. There's a skill called Celebrity Vice President. My family is probably not the name of the skill, but it's like a code short name for the skill. Wasteland, Luminous Spark, Mystic Plasma Zone. So someone's probably going to have those field power bonuses right away. Mm-hmm. Zombie World, Double Normal Summon. So, they're just clues about what the skills do. Alright, so now we're going to get to the main thing that we're going to talk about today, and this is the new box, Generation Next. What a name. I'm not a big fan of the name, but it pretty much signals a change of the game to 2.0. It's the final box in this era, and it's going to be the first one bleeding into the GX update. And as customary with a big box release, this is one of the 200 packs. There's a little bit of power creep, some new useful cards, and some new archetypes. So you want to jump right in?
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's do it. First card. We're not gonna go over every card. These are just the ones that are notable. Arcana Knight Joker. Fusion monster, you have to fuse 3 cards. Queen's Knight, Jack's Knight, King's Knight. Warrior, Light Monster, 3,800 attack, 2,500 defense. So you have to fuse it with 3 cards, and once per turn during each player's turn, when a spell, trap, or monster effect is activated that targets this card, you can discard the same type of card and negate it. So this is, right off the bat, you can think of this as an Ultimate Providence card. It's built in itself, basically.
Mm-hmm.
And what's the problem with this card, yeah?
Well, the problem is that you need to triple fuse stuff, but and that's a really big investment. I think the cool thing is that the knights, I think it's the King's Knight pulls out the Jack if you have the Queen already. Right. So they kind of tutor each other out and let you get them out a little bit more easily. Obviously, since it's a fusion, you can also just have them in your hand. So it's a little bit more difficult to get all of those things in hand because it's 3 pieces instead of 2. But I'm not sure if it's significantly more difficult considering that they can kind of help each other out and to get themselves there. So it's definitely a cool card. I'm not sure if it'll actually see play, but
And you have experience with Ultimate Providence in PvP. How hard is it to keep cards in your hand to counter stuff?
Yeah, it's... So, when you have Ultimate Providence, or in this case, this dude, what you want to have is like a mixture of a good amount of traps and spells and monsters so that you can counter whatever you need to. And so that might kind of make it a little bit more difficult to maximize this guy's value because you want to have the right ratio and the right cards to get him out, but then you also want a ratio which might be a different ratio to make sure that you can protect him once he's out. And, another issue is if you are summoning him, you need the 3 monsters and the 1 polymerization, so that takes up 4 cards, so you might not even have that many cards left in your hand by the time you get him out. So he might not be as powerful as he first appears, because it might be a little bit difficult to make him work as you want to.
Right. This is probably the most exciting or most impactful one that people expect. It's Horus, the Black Flame Dragon. And he comes in three forms: level 4, level 6, level 8. Level 4 is a normal, level 6 is super rare, and level 8 is an ultra rare. Basically how it works is you could either level up the level 4 to a level 8, or each one levels up by destroying a monster by battle. So, it's not like Ultimate Insect where it grows every turn. And basically the level 8 has an ability. It's a 3000 attack, 1800 defense dragon. And the ability is, during either player's turn, when a spell card is activated, you can negate the activation, and if you do, destroy it. You must control this face-up card to activate and resolve this effect. So basically you're canceling all spells. That's really huge. And Decade mentioned that level 6 is a 2300 that can't be affected by spell effects. So that means targets and also spells that are passive on the board. So he mentioned that this card can stand alone on its own, and you could use like Kidmodo Dragon or some other card, and 4 and 8 can kind of do their thing with level up, but 6 can be a good enough monster to stand alone on its own.
Yeah, and of course 6 means 1 tribute in most cases, which isn't the hardest thing to do. I'm still trying to get Bluff Trap, because I think that would be really good if you can use Bluff Trap to and Storm to clear their side, and then it gives you a guy, and then you can use that guy as your tribute to summon this. That seems like a really strong play. The slight weakness to it, and the reason why I think it won't be like breaking the game, is that he has 2300 attack, and we're living in a 2400 meta with the Phoenix and the Red Eyes and some of the ninjas and some other stuff as well. So it kind of keeps in check a little bit. We also have a few ways that aren't spells that can kind of flip them to defense mode, which all levels of Horus have weak defenses. So I really like this level monster. I think it's really strong, and I'm really excited to play with it, but I don't think it's going to break the game.
I've actually seen Horus in Legend. It was the first day. It was the night it came out, and I was trying to get to King of Games, and I saw Horus.
How'd it go for you?
I won the game, but
yeah.
It was the level 8 that came out, so I had to. No, wait, it was level 6. 4 destroyed something, and it became a 6, and then I destroyed the 6, so the 8 couldn't come. I probably would have lost when the 8 came out, but yeah.
Yeah, and that's another cool thing, is that it happens at the end of the turn.
Right.
I think that's what it is.
During the end phase,
yeah. Yeah, during the end phase, if this card destroyed a monster. So there's a question asked, by the way, in one of the Discords, if it works with Super Rush Headlong, and I'm almost certain the answer is no.
No, yeah.
DK also said no during his little stream, or his little card review, which we've linked here. Because the Super Rush Headlong does the killing, not Horus. But the cool thing, going back to the original point, is that this happens at the end of your turn, so it can be powered up very easily by just kind of sneaking it in there when you know you can get an attack in. The level 4 one isn't super weak. I forget exactly it is. It's 1600. So it's obviously not strong in the current meta, but if you have their guys like maybe flip to defense mode, or if you have a buff on yours, or if you paid for Mirror Wall to stay up so their guys are weak, you can just kind of sneak this in, get one attack, kill something, then at the end of the turn, you get to level him up, and they didn't really have too much of a time to counter it, or to kind of react. So I think it'd be pretty easy to level this guy up, a lot easier than Silent Magician, where you pretty much had to use the level up, and it's essentially Silent Magician. I mean, it's a very similar effect, so that's pretty cool.
I'm distracted by level 4. It looks like a robot chicken.
It does look like a robot chicken, I agree.
We're gonna move on to a trap card, and by trap card I mean it looks really big, but kind of sucks. It's the 5-headed dragon. It's a UR fuse 5 different dragon monsters, and it has 5,000 attack and 5,000 defense. So you fuse any 5 dragons to make this card. Can't be special summoned, yeah, obviously. Can't be destroyed by battle with a dark, earth, water, fire, or wind monster. So you can only destroy this with a light monster by battle, and 5,000, 5,000.
Bam.
Yep.
So obviously the reason why it's a trap is that there's a lot of ways to kill a monster without doing battle with it. Yep. And also, because 5 dragons is a lot to devote into it, you need to really... it's just a really big investment. Even with... is Thunder Dragon count as a dragon?
I think it's that can kind of...
Yeah, I think you're right. So never mind. I was going to say you can kind of cheat it a little bit by getting him so that you get 2 from that, but that's not even true.
Yeah,
so
Thunder.
This is just a really big investment. Remember, you start the game with 4 cards, and presumably you're going to want to actually do things to interact with the board, because otherwise you will die very quickly. So you're going to go minus 4 on those 4 to get some other plays in. So this is if you need 5 dragons and the fusion, that's 6 cards, and any sort of stall mechanics that you're using to try to get it off is going to make it take even longer. So this just does not seem very good at all.
Nope. I mean, it's going to win 1 out of 20 games where it's they get a god draw and then you draw nothing and then they put fairy meter crush on it and then it's the game.
I mean, yeah, you're right. This is 100% going to show up on Reddit as 1 turn kill stupid dragon deck. And I know it's going to happen. It's like our version of Trollden, but it's definitely not going to be meta.
Yep. On the flip side, this card has already showed up on the meta and it's making splashes. It's Evil Dragon Ananta. You are, let's see. This card cannot be normal summoned or set. This card cannot be special summoned except from removing from play all reptile monsters in your side of the field and graveyard. This card's attack and defense are equal to the number of reptile monsters you remove times 600. So, at the least, it becomes a 600 times whatever 600. During each of your end phases, destroy 1 card on the field. So basically, if you protect this guy, he destroys 1 card at the end of each turn.
Yeah. And like you said, and like DK mentioned in his little review, it's a 1 card investment to destroy at least 1 thing on their side of the field, which is already good. Even if you just make him a 600, you're still getting enough value out of it that it might be worth it just there. And if you can save it for a turn or 2, they have to get rid of it on the next turn, because this will very quickly snowball into just insurmountable amounts of card advantage. I like that also you can get rid of stuff from the graveyard. That's pretty cool. So there's some reptiles. It's just a really cool card design, and it seems like it's got a lot of potential.
Right. This set has a lot of those worm cards, and then there's a Gagagigo, and then there's Embodiment of Apophis, various Gale Lizards, a reptile, I believe. Yeah.
Yeah, the Sinister Serpent, I think, as well. Right.
So, and especially all the worm cards, some of them are just okay, so you could just... There's enough of them to go around now by this set. So definitely a really good card. I actually got this card. This is probably the best card I got so far. But nice. I don't know how to build the deck, so it's just sitting in my collection doing nothing right now.
Oh, we'll get on it.
Yep. After I get King of Games, right? Maybe.
Yeah, definitely. Right. You get that King of Games first.
This card's really cool because of its name. It's called Magical Something. Something Magical Something. 1800 attack Spellcaster. Each time a spell card is activated, place 1 spell counter on this card when that spell resolves. This card's level is increased by the number of spell counters on this card, so it's a level 4. You can remove 3 spell counters from this card, target one quick play in your graveyard, and set that in your spell or trap zone. You can only use this effect once per turn.
So this card is awesome. 1800 attack. We are, as you know, continually kind of power creeping over stats. So 1800 is no longer like
it's the standard
game-breaking strong.
Yeah, yeah.
Right, but it's really good, especially for newer players who are still using their Yami decks because he's a spellcaster or she's a spellcaster. So that's 2000 is super solid. The effect is also very powerful because if you can get it off once, then that's just a lot of value. And recycling things like enemy controllers and super rush headlongs seems very good. So I actually opened this card.
Oh, nice.
Kind of cool.
This could probably work really well with Spell Power Grasp. You get to put spell counters on things, and then you get another one, and you keep doing it. And yeah.
And the level up stuff is interesting. I haven't really checked the synergies with that, but I imagine there might be some synergies with if. I guess one synergy is beatdown, right? If you just play one spell, then you've added to your beatdown counter. So that's, and any other skills that have to have a 5-star or higher monster.
Right. Oh yeah, that makes sense. So this card, it's interesting, but we don't know if it's going to be super meta, but you'll see it in the Power of the Dark decks probably. Like, someone's going to open one of them, they're going to play it. So
yeah, it's for sure going to be in the Power of the Dark decks, which of course aren't the strongest in the meta. I think it'll probably see some, like, a little bit of play in just good stuff decks, but I don't think it's going to, like, shape the meta on its own.
It'll be in some decks, but we don't know what. Magical something.
Yeah.
This card's really cool. Card Guard. You are 1600 attack Fiend. If this card is normal summoned or special summoned, place a guard counter on it. This card gains 300 attack for each card counter on it. So it's only going to get one, I think. Once per turn, you can target one other face-up card you control, remove the guard counter from this card, and place it on that target. If that card would ever be destroyed, remove one guard counter from it. So basically, allows one monster you control to be... No, it doesn't even have to be a monster. It could be any card.
Nope.
You could just...
it does not have to be.
Yep. So you could just make a card immune for one turn. So it could be like a field spell or a continuous spell or just a monster.
Yeah, one field spell that kind of came to mind is Toon Kingdom, because we had previously been using Magical Reflector on it. To answer your question about the guard counters, you can use this to buff up another copy of Card Guard if you need to attack over something that has more than 1900 attack or something like that. So 1900 attack is also the new highest for a 4-star monster, and he's a fiend. So again, your Power of the Dark decks are just going to have 2100 beaters now, which is pretty strong. So I see this card making a pretty moderate splash. I know that DK was pretty high on it. I guess it was pretty solid in maybe in the paper TCG, and so I assume all of his followers will be pretty high on it as well, which means it's just a matter of time before it gets put into a bunch of meta decks.
I like how it's standing on a card, and the back of the card is like the TCG card.
Yeah.
Oh. Alright. This is another... DK called this the Sonic Bird of the set. King of the Swamp. To UR, this card can be used as a substitute for one fusion material. So it's like one of those fusion material monsters where it could be just any fusion monster. But it also has an extra ability of you can discard this card to the graveyard and add one polymerization from your deck to your hand. This ability you already see in Fusion Sage, but it's supposed to be really good because GX is all about fusions.
Yeah, and it's just it's crazy amounts of utility because it means you can use it for almost any like fusion purpose. If you're running a fusion deck, you're running this guy. You can use it to find a monster that you're missing. Essentially, you're essentially finding it. You're not pulling it from the deck, or to find your polymerization. So it's just a very powerful card with a lot of flexibility for any decks that run fusions. And like you and DK are thinking, there's probably going to be more of that going forward. So sweet.
What do you call it? It's like a double tutor, or is it a double tutor?
Well,
Half tutor.
Yeah, I think it's just a really strong tutor effect. So
the second ability is definitely a tutor effect, but I don't know the fusion material. It's kind of like a pseudo tutor.
Yeah, I don't think it counts as a tutor if you don't pull out the card. So I think it acts as a tutor effect because you're essentially finding that card. But it's I don't know. I don't know if there's a name for that substitution thing.
Another UR Diffusion. It's a quick play spell. Target one fusion monster in the field. Return that target to the extra deck. Then, if all of the fusion monsters were used for the fusion summon are in your graveyard, you can special summon all of them. So, this card is a quick play, and obviously what you can do is fuse your monster, attack, and then separate it with diffusion and attack again with all of the other guys. Or, you can do it to protect your monster if it's getting destroyed. So you separate it and you negate the destruction. Or, this is probably the least likely outcome, you can return your enemy's fusion monster if they're attacking you. It's notable because you can't use fusion gate because that banishes the fusion materials. That's what's notable.
Yeah, seems like a cool card. I think it would probably only see play in some sort of really devoted fusion deck that maybe is trying to get a combo finish that way. But it's pretty cool.
Yep. Next card, another UR. You see the theme here? Another UR. Floodgate Trap Hole. It's a new type of removal. It's a trap hole, so it's whenever something gets summoned, if you're familiar with that mechanic. Whenever your opponent summons a monster, it could be special summon or normal summon, change that monster to face-down defense. Monsters changed down to face-down defense position by this effect cannot change their battle positions. This card has been used against me a lot in Legend.
Wow, people already bought through the pack or just got lucky. But yeah, this card is making big waves on like Reddit and stuff. There's one point is that it allows you to kind of ignore things by putting them face down, and then they can't flip back face up until at least you have an answer for them and you're trying to attack through them or something. But it's just a really powerful removal card. It does not allow your monsters to have effects, or I guess the person who it's used against to have effects. One thing that was pointed out was that it is by, Redditor Built to Tilt pointed out that this is really good counter to Toon Barrel Dragon, because apparently when you summon it, this does not target it, and so the Toon Kingdom can't prevent it. And then once it's face down, it's not like considered a Toon while it's face down, because face down monsters don't have a type. So then you can kill it, and the Toon Kingdom doesn't get a chance to activate to save it. So this is a very powerful card for countering that. It counters Psychics because it doesn't let them use their ability or Psychic Kinesis. It works really well with Weevil decks. You pointed out the Panda can maybe attack through stuff. It works really well with Ninja decks because the Grandmaster Sasuke, actually never mind, that doesn't work because that has to be face-up defense mode. But anyway, there's a lot of really good value to this card, and so some people are thinking it might be like secretly the quietly the best card in the set. A lot of people are focused on Horus, whereas a lot of the high-level players are instead focused on things like the Floodgate Trap Hole and Card Guard.
I'm going to put you on the spot here. I have one of these. Does it
Yes.
replace Mirror Wall, Econ, Super Rush, Windstorm, stuff like that? Depends on the deck, obviously, but can I just put it in a deck?
Yeah, I think you can. Like you said, it depends a lot on the deck. Some decks can't really use enemy controller as well as other decks can, for instance.
Right.
Whereas this kind of fits in everything. I think this is really good, for instance, in would have been deemed control decks,
Right,
like with the Guardian Statue and Sergeant Electro and stuff. Because if you are flipping it into face down, then it's like a better version of enemy controller for those decks, because then you can use the clowns or the Guardian Statue or Sergeant Electro to either attack through or just kind of clear their thing, and they don't have a chance to use their guy, any effects that it might have that would cause problems. So it depends a lot on the deck, but I do think it can be just subbed in, especially if you don't have a full play set of whatever protector cards you would normally use.
Cool. You are Book of Taiyu. Again, let's see. Flip one face-down monster on the field into face-up attack. So, it lets you activate a flip effect, I guess. But, against your opponent's monster is worse than a stop defense, right?
Yeah. Yeah, the only reason why you would use it is because you want to at least have the ability to use it on your guys. So,
Right.
I'm not terribly impressed with this card.
Nope. Another one. Okay, now we're moving on to the SRs, Typhoon. And if you're familiar with the Storm cards, it destroys a spell. This card, target one face-up... It's a normal trap card. Target one face-up spell or trap on the field and destroy it. If your opponent controls two or more spell traps, you control none, you can activate this from your hand. So this second ability is if they're starting out and you're going second, and then they play some cards, you can destroy their card right away, basically.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. I like the split. It's like a trap card that's also a quick play magic card. It's pretty sweet.
Right. And if spell removal becomes bigger, this could be better, but right now it's kind of at low, so we're not... It doesn't seem too impressive at the moment.
Yeah.
SR, Nobleman Eater, Bug. 5 stars, 900 attack, 1200 defense. Flip. Destroy 2 monsters on the field. So, big ability, but is the cost worth it?
No, we were both kind of talking about this, and it just does not seem worth it. 5 stars means you have to tribute, which is just a big cost. A, it's a tempo loss, and B, it means that you aren't... It's still a 2 for 2. So you're losing tempo, and you're not gaining any sort of card advantage for doing it. You're gonna... I'm sure that some people are going to play this, and it might even be okay in some circumstances, but I think most decks do not want to run this, and I think it will be played a lot more frequently than it should be, at least at first, with people who think that it's amazing when it's not.
Yeah, it's a trap.
Mm-hmm.
And you think about the card Psychic Kappa, not Psychic Kappa, Green Kappa. It does the same thing for the spells, but it costs nothing. So, yeah, I think you also have to destroy 2. This is like you have to destroy 2, right, for this to work.
Yes, but I think it can target itself, right?
So it's like a 1 for 1, 2 for 1.
It's a flip, so I don't think there's any chance that it will miss, because your opponent will attack into it, and then it flips up, and then it can target your opponent's monster and your own, I believe.
It makes sense.
And obviously, you'd rather target 2 of your opponent's monsters, but that's, I think, the worst case scenario. So
right, not a good card. This is a good card. Boxer, SR. It's a 1800 attack warrior. Whenever this card destroys an opponent's monster by battle and sends it to the graveyard, you can place 1 counter on this card. You can send this card with 2 counters or more to the graveyard, and you can special summon 1 Earth monster from your deck. If this card would be destroyed by battle or card effect, you can remove one counter from this card. So this card has an ability to special summon any Earth monster, and it stays on the board a lot.
Yeah, I think it's a really cool card. The Earth monsters there's not like a ton of them that you really are like begging to get out, but one thing that came to my mind was Magnet Warriors,
right.
Some sort of Magnet deck. It seems cool, and it's a tutor effect that protects itself and could possibly be used multiple times, and it's on a decent body because, like we just said, 1800 is solid. No longer the best, but it's certainly not the worst. So I think that there's some good value there.
Yeah, I think this card has a lot of lasting value because more Earth cards are going to come in the coming sets. So this could just be the way to get an Earth monster out, and there could be some really good one next set. So, really good card. Let's see. Field spell, Fusion Recycling Plant. Once per turn, you can discard one card and add one polymerization from your deck or graveyard to your hand. Once per turn during the end phase, you can target one monster in your graveyard that was used as a fusion material for a fusion summon this turn and add it to your hand. So you have to reuse your fusion cards a lot, basically.
Yeah, I mean it's an engine to fuel fusion decks, which is cool because one of the major problems with fusions has always been severe card disadvantage, especially if your fusion gets handled pretty easily. So I could see this getting some play, but the problem is that Duel Links is a speed duel format, and so this card itself is -1 card in your card advantage. So for it to have any value to you, you need it to give you +2. And I mean, the tutor effect isn't bad, but that's a 2-for-1 tutor when you could just use the Swamp King. So what you really want is to activate it like twice, and I'm not sure if there's a ton of circumstances in which you'll be able to do so, or in which it will be even like valuable to do so, because if you've been able to do it twice, then maybe you're already in a situation where you're winning the game. So I can see this card getting I do see this card getting some play. We have a few ways to find field spells, so you can build a deck around it, and we're going into the fusion era, so you're maybe going to want to. I'm just not sure if it's going to be the strongest deck. It's a really cool card, and it's exactly the type of card that I love to play around with, but it's also exactly the type of card that while I'm playing around with it, other people are beating me using like less, I don't know, flashy cards.
Right. Next card is BES Tetran. There's two of these cards. There's the Crystal Core and then there's the Tetran. But this is the one. It's kind of like the BES Big Core. They have the ability where they're summoned and they have 3 counters and they can't be destroyed by battle. But this one has a secondary effect where you can use the counters to destroy cards. So, let's see. Once per turn, you can remove 1 counter on this card to destroy 1 spell or trap card on the field. So, DK had mentioned that you use Soul Exchange on a monster, summon BES Tetran, use it to destroy spells and traps, and then you summon Angmarl the Fiendish Monarch with it. Yep. Yep, that's all I gotta say about this card.
That's a nice little combo. It has some pretty low stats, 1800 attack, 2300 defense for a 1 tribute. The stats aren't as important because the ability protects itself, of course. So there's definitely something there, especially if you can do that cool Soul Exchange combo, because you don't need him to be attacking to get the value out of it. And the downside of not being able to attack that turn with the Soul Exchange isn't as big of a downside. So we'll see, but unfortunately, Angmarl plus Soul Exchange means a lot of gems. So there's not going to be a ton of people who are going to be able to play that deck.
The Crystal Core, just to mention, has the ability, instead of destroying spells and traps, it flips a face-up monster to face-up defense. So it does the control thing, sort of. Mm-hmm. But it's kind of expensive because it's just like a 1 tribute again.
Yeah.
Another one, K9 Taurus SR. This card's really interesting. 1500 attack Beast Warrior. Once per turn, if this card battles an opponent's monster. So, during damage calculation in either player's turn, you can send one beast, beast warrior, or winged beast type monster from your hand or deck to the graveyard. This card gains attack equal to the monster's level times 100 until the end of the battle phase. Typically, this would get 4, so it's going to be a 1900, but sometimes you can send an 8-star or 7-star monster to make it 22 or 2300. DK had mentioned a combo: Flame Tiger plus Beast Rising plus Hazy Flame Sphinx. So, yeah, Flame Tiger comes back every turn. It's another new card, but it comes back every turn. You discard that card, and then you tribute it for Hazy Flame Sphinx.
All right.
This card just can't be destroyed, the Canine Tor. There's no way to attack it.
Well, I mean, if they run out of cards in their hand, because his base stats are 1700 attack.
15.
So it's not that strong.
Yeah.
Or, sorry, 15. Math or reading. But, yeah, so it's not super strong. And so your opponent has to either not play things so that they can hold stuff in hand and bluff value, or
right.
I don't know, or suck it up and lose this guy. But I think the major downside is that you have to run Beast Warrior, Winged Beast, and there aren't a ton of those that you want to play. So
Hazy Flame's the main one, I think.
Yeah, it's a good card.
So now we're moving on to the rares. This is a pretty good rare. Bacon Saver, 700 attack zombie. During either player's battle step while an attack is occurring, you can banish this card from your graveyard and negate the attack. You can only use the effect of Bacon Saver once per duel. We were talking about this card yesterday. Pretty cool.
Yeah, it's a solid card. It's already seen some play. I think you were playing against it. I haven't played much PvP since I hit King of Games, or at all. I don't think I've played since I hit King of Games, so I haven't seen it yet. But I also saw someone on Reddit noting that they added it to their Red Eye Zombies deck, and were really enjoying it because you could use it for two different effects. You can use the kind of Kuribo type effect, yeah, or you can use it with Gozuki. I mean, I guess you're using it with Gozuki either way, but it's a zombie, so you can use Gozuki to find it and put it into your graveyard, and then and that will allow you to use the effect. Or once your Gozuki is you can activate Gozuki's other ability. Yeah, once Gozuki is killed, then you can
banish him.
Get rid of banish the bacon. Sorry, stumbling over my words, trying to find Gozuki in my phone. You can banish the bacon and use Gozuki's summon effect with the bacon as fodder for it. So it's a really good card. Just generally, at first we thought it would kind of just be a budget Kuribo type card, but now it seems like it might have some uses kind of on its own outside of that.
Yeah, Red Eye Zombie is seeing the card Red Eye's Wyvern get cut, and this could go in its place maybe. I mean, it has a lot less attack. That could be a downside. Maybe a good substitute for Goblin Zombie, I don't know. But it seems like it definitely has a lot of use. Burst Rebirth. Trap card. Pay 2,000 life points. Target one monster in your graveyard, special summon it, and face down defense.
There's a lot of reanimation effects in the game, but this one can trigger skills like Destiny Draw by making that life payment into an upside instead of downside. So it's also a trap, and face down means you can get flip effects and stuff. So there's a couple uses for this. It might see some play.
Titan Showdown. You put sewage in defense.
Yeah, there you go. That's a good one.
All right. We're going to talk about the worm cards now. These are a new archetype of light attribute reptile monsters that focus on flip effects and sometimes like effects on flip summons. They're understated and they do different abilities. There's flip effect support and reptile support in this set. So you mentioned that Worm Zero. So there's a lot of them, so that's why we're not going to talk about them. But there's a fusion monster called Worm Zero, and you basically can fuse 2+, 4+, or 6+ worm cards to fuse this guy. And he gains 500 attack for each monster used. And let's see, 2+, you can select one reptile in your graveyard and special summon it in defense each turn. If you use 4 of them, remove from play one reptile from your graveyard to send one monster on the field to the graveyard. And if you manage 6, once per turn you can draw a card. So you're not going to get 6, you're probably going to get 2. It's hard. This is one of those archetypes that's really hard to... It's like the most deck building challenge, right? Because there's so many pieces and you don't know which ones to use.
Yeah, I mean, it gives you a really big hint as to which, or maybe not as to which ones to use, but there's a really big limitation where you're going to try to shove in as many worms as you can, right. And then just try to fill your hand and get some polymerization. So it gives you a big clue, kind of sets you in the right direction, narrows it down to what you want in there, but there are a lot of worms to choose from, and you need to get the right balance to make a deck that actually works until this guy comes out. So, and then even once it gets out, like, what is this? Is that enough to end the game on its own, or do you need more to do after that? I don't think it's usually going to be enough to just end the game on its own. So you definitely need more to take advantage of it more than just getting it out and all right, the game's over. So I am not very impressed with Worm Zero as a good end game card to build around. It seems kind of fun though. I might do it for memes or whatever, but I don't think it's going to be a meta deck.
Yeah, I don't know if these worm cards could just be parts of another deck, or if they're just good enough to be on their own. It's just I just can't tell. I don't know. Yeah, but they're all rare or normal, so you're probably going to have a lot of them, and you're probably going to see some of them in the low ranks. We'll see.
Mm-hmm.
Abyss Warrior, rare, 1800 attack Aqua. Once per turn, you can discard one water monster to the graveyard and target one monster in either player's graveyard. Return that target to either the top or the bottom of the deck. So this ability reminds me a lot of what's like a fighter sending a skull to the top of their deck, but this kind of goes both ways. You could do it for yourself to recycle a monster or to disrupt your opponent.
Yeah. Plus, it's just an 1800 attack water aqua, which is
they all decent. Are. They're all 1800 attack water monsters, right?
Yeah. But this one has the potential to do its abilities, so I don't know. It's kind of cool.
Yeah. Samurai Skull. I use this card now. 1700 attack zombie. When this card is normal summoned, you can send one zombie monster from the deck to the graveyard. So that's basically Gozuki's first ability, but only does it once. If this face-up card is in its owner control and leaves the field from an effect, you can special summon one level 4 zombie from your deck, except for Samurai Skull. So the second ability is not going to trigger. I just use it as my third Gozuki because I don't have 3. That's basically why I use it. Yep.
Yeah, it seems good for that purpose.
Yep. Tribe Shocking Virus, 1700 attack Thunder. Once per turn, you can banish one monster from your hand, destroy all face-up monsters on the field with that same type. I noted that this could be useful in a tournament, a side deck format, right? Maybe.
Yeah, I think so. I think if this card had, instead of banish the monster, you put it in your graveyard, I think this card would be seen a ton of play. Because there's a lot of ways to reanimate things, and there's not as many ways to get stuff back after it's been banished. So I don't think it's going to see a lot of play in our normal format on PvP and stuff like that, but like you said, maybe in a sideboard tournament type format.
Right. Next card's a trap card, Different Dimension Ground. This turn, any monster sent to the graveyard is banished instead. You have an interesting question about this card, right?
Yeah, well, I don't know how interesting, but I was just wondering how it worked with Red Eye's Zombie, because the insight, the cost to play the insight is the card in the graveyard.
Right.
You'll notice this when your opponent plays insight. If you have a counter trap or something, they'll play the insight. The monster will go to the graveyard, and then it'll ask if you want to counter the essentially the tutor effect. So I don't think, but I'm not sure. I haven't looked up the errata or anything. If this will make that monster that they sent to the graveyard not go there.
This is interesting. But otherwise, what I'm gonna look it up. What other uses does this card have?
I mean, aside from that, just any of the decks that want to abuse the graveyard, like the other aspects of zombies, and like Phoenix, I think would be a really good one for Phoenix, because so for Phoenix, you can kind of control it a little bit more, and I don't think it's like the cost. If you kill I forget the name of the guy, but the 1800 attacker guy.
Yaksha or something?
Sure. The Fire King thing.
Yeah, Fire King Yaksha or something.
Yeah. That one, I'm almost certain it would work against that for Phoenix, because that one's not a cost. That's just an effect that he has that goes normally. Whereas I think it's when it's the cost of playing the card that the card goes into the graveyard, then I think that's when you have the issues.
Yeah, I looked it up and I couldn't find it, so we won't know if this works.
I'm sure that it can, again, be easily tested, so we'll figure it out.
Yep. Next card is Gaga Gagigo. It's a rare. Let's see, 2450, 5 stars. What?
I think it's Giga, not Gaga.
Giga Gaga Gagigo. The first one was called Gaga Gagigo, so this one's like, I don't know, it sounds stupid, but
it's the bigger one.
Yep. It's notable if you play a legendary ocean. It's a 4-star 2650.
Ooh.
This is like the new dinosaur. Like, it's just a lot of stat for 4 stars.
Yeah, I really like that. I mean, obviously it takes a bit of setup because you need to get the legendary ocean and the Giga Gaga Giga. But
yeah.
But I really like that play. 4-star 2650.
Do you run Planet Pathfinder for sure?
I'm not sure if you do. I think you just run 3 the legendary ocean and wait like you said, wait for it. And you can also run 4-star guys with it and the Hammer Shark.
Right.
Since you're trying to get the legendary ocean out, and then that allows you to special summon dudes with Hammer Shark who are 4-star. If you have the legendary ocean out, and if you don't, you can use the Hammer Shark maybe to cheat out guys so that you can then summon Giga Gaga by because you have extra dudes on the field.
Yeah, so get those legendary oceans. It seems like it's gonna be like a budget beatdown. It's budget beatdown with effects. Yeah, because the water monsters do different things.
Yeah, I think that it's been a little while since we've had just a straight kind of I don't know, a fair beatdown deck like that where there's not really special summons and stuff. But I think this might bring it back, and like we just talked about, there's a couple ways that it can kind of cheat and not be quote fair either. So there's some value there for sure.
Right. Next card is Masked Ninja Abisu. It's a ninja, 1200 attack, 1800 defense. Okay. Once per turn, if you control a face-up ninja other than Masked Ninja Abisu, you can activate this effect. Return a number of your opponent's spells or traps to the hand, equal to the number of ninja monsters you control. Also, for every face-up Go-Go the Gallant Ninja you control... every face-up Go-Go the Gallant Ninja you control can attack your opponent directly. So I noted that this card is basically Giant Trunade. It returns all of your spells, like your enemy spells, to their hand.
Yeah, I mean, if you just stick one ninja and then you can drop this guy down, because obviously with his low attack, this guy's not going to stick around too long in most cases, but really good for like setting up one-turn kills or just final blows, because your opponent can't... a lot of traps don't really work very well if you're doing this before you get to the attack phase, which obviously you are, so really strong card. A lot of people on Reddit were thinking that ninjas might be coming out on top on this set because of the Floodgate Trap kind of helping out with some of the bad matchups, and then this guy is just really powerful. The
Yeah,
and also
ninjas are very strong already. They just like they kind of do the one turn kill thing already with the black ninja. I think.
right, yeah, they're already quick, and this just kind of helps with that. The last thing I was going to add is that Gogo the Gallant Ninja doesn't seem super good, so I'm
No.
not. I don't think I would play them both. I think I would just play the Mass Ninja and not worry about Gogo.
Yep. Another ninja card, Ninjutsu Art Notebook. It's a spell, continuous spell. Once per turn, you can send a ninja monster from your hand to your graveyard. Set one ninjutsu art, spell, or trap directly from your deck, except for Ninjutsu Art Notebook. So it's a tutor effect.
Yeah, it's another tutor effect with a decent range. Ninjas don't tend to have like a handful of extra cards, so this is a pretty big investment because it essentially costs 2 cards. You have to activate the notebook and also discard a ninja. So I'm kind of thinking it's probably not going to see play in the full budget like meta versions of ninjas, but maybe for those of us who don't have like full sets of the most important ninjutsu cards, it might see some plays as a tutor effect, as a substitute for maybe some of the cards that you're kind of supposed to have if you're running ninjas.
Right. Alright. End card. Oh, no, this is our card. Half counter. This is an important card. During damage calculation, it's a trap card. During damage calculation, if a monster you control is being attacked, target that monster you control. That target gains attack equal to half of the original attack of the attacking monster until the end phase. So basically, it's a mirror wall for one monster, right?
Yeah, kind of. Yeah. It's also, so it's weird because it lasts for the entire battle phase I guess until the end phase. But so your monster, it only affects. Yeah, I guess it's weird because it, instead of affecting all or any of their monsters, what it does is it buffs one of your monsters all the way. So, for instance, your opponent can then attack with their other monsters into any other monsters you have, and they won't get hurt. So in that sense, it's different from the mirror wall, but the end effect is pretty similar to a one-turn mirror wall.
Right. So it's like would you say this could substitute for mirror wall for people who don't have it? I'd say so, right?
Yeah, I think it could. It's another card that goes in the conversation as to cards that you can use to substitute. There's a lot of good options now. You can just run kind of like good removal type cards. If you happen to open the Floodgate Trap Hole, for instance, that's another one that would be like, okay, well, if I don't have Mirror Wall, maybe I'll just put in this other really good removal type trap card. So I think, like you said, it's a good substitute. It's one of many good substitutes.
Right. This is another good card, I think. Nitwit Outwit. This is just a normal trap, a normal rarity, I mean. Discard one monster and target one face-up monster on the field. It loses attack equal to the discarded monster's original attack. Possibly used for Red Eye Zombie and other graveyard effects. Yeah.
Yeah, it's fun. Like you said, it's good in decks in which you want to discard your stuff. I could also see it being like a sneaky way to kill your opponent if they've used 3-star demotion, because you can just kind of, haha, you take 1,000 damage, sucker. And so,
Right.
I think there's some value there. A Tribute of the Doomed, or to the Doomed, or whatever it is better in that it just kind of does targeted removal, but that won't allow you to surprise them into killing themselves. A Mirror Wall does the surprise them into killing themselves maybe a bit better because there's no discard cost, except for, like you said, those decks where you kind of want to discard things.
Maybe I should run this, because I already run Tribute to the Doomed in my Red Eye Zombie.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe I could use this.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, it's susceptible to things like Sergeant Electro and Storm and whatever. They clear it before they attack, whereas Tribute, you can just on your turn clear their thing and then attack in. So they serve slightly different purposes, but it might be worth exploring.
Yeah, we'll see. Now we have a trap card that's a trap, sort of. Radiant Mirror Force. When an opponent's monster declares an attack while they control 3 or more attack position monsters, destroy all monsters your opponent controls.
Broken.
Broken.
Like you said, it's a little bit of a trap because in this game we're not frequently going to have 3 attack monsters at the same time. If this ever becomes significantly have a significant impact on the meta, then what people will do is they'll just stop playing 3 attack monsters at the same time. They'll either put something in defense mode or they'll just hold the monster for a turn. Might encourage them to actually play more tributes so that they can use their one normal summon to just make their things bigger and better. But I think it's going to be possible that I think I misread it when I was doing my notes there, so sorry, I got a little distracted there. But it's going to be possible to have a impact there, but it's not really likely to get too many activations, and I think you'd rather just run something like a Mirror Wall or Windstorm or some other way to kind of catch up if you're behind.
I think this is one of those cards that's going to surprise you in the low ranks. Like, you're just going to lose to it just because you didn't... Like, I play Red Eye Zombie, and I do have... I'd say I get more 3 guys out at one time than most people. And you're just going to lose a game because you forget to switch something to defense mode. Like, sometimes you play around Windstorm by switching something in defense mode, and you're just going to get screwed over, barely.
That's definitely true.
Yeah. Alright, end card, Hysteric Fairy. 1800 attack Fairy. Light, tribute 2 monsters on your side of the field to increase your life points by 1,000. It's optional ability, I believe. Yeah. Dunamis Dark Witch. RIP.
You had a story about this one.
Yeah.
Right?
So I played Yu-Gi-Oh! In 8th grade, PS number 6 in New Jersey. I played this card because I got it. And I used to be really smart. Like, I was the salutatorian in that school, and I used to be really... That was when I was in my peak. But when I was, like, thinking, I would, like, put my hand to my head, like what she's doing right there. And I played this card, and this kid comes up and is like, oh, this card looks exactly like you. And he just, like, picks the card from the table. And he shows it to everyone, so this is... Yeah, that's my story.
That's funny. Yeah, that's good. That's funny because I peaked in 8th grade, too. So... what does that say about us?
Well, yeah. Now we're talking about a children's card game.
There you go.
But what's your what's the lesson here in relation to Dunamis Dark Witch? It was the cover model for Valkyrie's Rage.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a lesson that we've learned a few times over now. But the lesson is that you should not buy sets through just for a ultra rare or super rare with vanilla stats. It will become obsolete within just a few months, and usually you can find a replacement in the normal or rare rarities that's like maybe 50 attack less or something like that, and it's not a very, very efficient use of your gems. You want cards that have more unique abilities than just good stats.
Yep. And this is just an N, so it's going to replace Dunamis Dark Witch right away. Because you're not going to use Order to Charge Fairies or something. That's never going to happen.
Yeah, probably not.
Yep. Alright, so that's the whole set. There's like Naturia cards. I mean, you could just look through the whole set, but those are the ones that we found most interesting. And this set's expensive. All the good cards are URs. Yeah,
it's definitely more expensive. It's like you said, a lot of the good cards are URs. We spent obviously a decent amount of time talking about the URs. And also it's 200 packs, which just kind of makes it inherently more expensive. So there's a bit of a bummer there. The upside is if the only cool thing that you want to do is Horus, you can buy the set through just once and be okay. It's kind of like the Silent Magician of last time. But if you want the other stuff, it's going to cost you.
And the good thing is that GX is coming, and we're going to have a lot of gems from leveling up new characters and doing new missions. So I think we can buy through it sufficiently with what we're getting, I think. That's a good thing.
Yeah, hopefully.
Yeah. Unless they reduce all our rewards, and then we'll have to protest Komani. But we'll see.
Yeah. Time for it.
Time for it. All right, now we're going to move on to our new other topics quickly. The DD Tower was the main event this week. The DD Tower Fire Dimension. And this makes me think that there's going to be other elements in the future. Like, there's going to be like a water one and a wind one, maybe. It's a new PvE experience, and we get to play against monsters like Poke, Draco, Blasphemodian, Strasmodian, and Gaia the Combustible. You play through 30 floors, and whenever you fight monsters using different decks. The challenge is it's a survival mode, so you retain the same life points you do after finishing a game. Life points naturally replenish, and they can be obtained with potions. You can't max out your life points, so you get set back to 4,000 each game. You complete the missions, you gamble for rewards. You can only get a maximum of 36 points for rewards, so you can only buy through each box 3 times. So make sure you get your rainbow packs, your SRs, and some of the rare cards for each time before you reset. Let's talk about some of these new cards. Pyrorex the Elemental Lord. This is a UR. You have to banish 5 fire monsters from your graveyard to special summon him. And then when he gets special summoned, you sacrifice him and you do half of his attack to you and half of his attack to your opponent. So it's going to be 1,400 attack burn. 1,400 burn to both players. We only get 1, but it's kind of hard to pull off this ability, I think.
Yeah, I don't think this is going to make a huge impact. As you said, it's just hard to put like 5 fire monsters into the graveyard and then set this up, and then it's not even a really amazing effect because you're dealing equal damage to both you and your opponent. So by the time you've gotten those 5 monsters in there, you're probably like pretty close to dying, so this will just be the way that you kill yourself.
Yep. Royal Stormfire Guards, SR Pyro 1700. Basically, when you have 4 Pyro monsters, you can send them back to your deck, and then you draw 2 cards. The problem is that it sounds cool for Kickfire, but then even Goka the Pyre and Bonfire Colossus aren't even Pyro types. They're Zombie and Beast Warrior, respectively. Maybe you can recycle Lady Assailant of Flames, but this effect seems like it will never activate.
Yeah. They need to be in your grave, the 4 Pyros?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, again, it's kind of a similar problem. This one's more highlighted by the fact that, like you said, there's not a ton of good Pyros.
Nope. Salamandra, SR, 700 attack, equip to a fire monster. That's all it does. Equip has to be really good to be in a deck, I'd say. Supervise or Gravity Blaster. You use 7 completed for the machine spell. So I don't think this will see play, because it's just an attack equip. Like Horn of the Unicorn. It's basically Horn of the Unicorn.
Yeah, I don't think it's a very good card.
Finally, Raging Flame Sprite, rare, 100 attack Spirit. It's not a Spirit. It attacks directly, and it gains 1,000 attack each turn. So maybe you could do something like right back at you, but you have to banish this each turn to protect it, I guess. It's not going to stay on the board.
Yeah, you definitely need to have some sort of protection for it. If it gets 2 hits in, then it's strong, and at that point you'll win on like the 3rd turn probably. But it seems like if you're able to make it work, then you're going to win anyway. It's kind of a win more card in that sense.
But this is probably one of the rare cards you want to get from the box, just in case it becomes something. This one could be something, maybe.
Yeah, it does seem like it could be something.
Yep. And I have a link here for guides if you want to cheat the missions. Like, decks, just so you could get all the points. So, if you're lazy and don't feel like finishing it. Yep. I mean, getting all the points, I finished it and I'll feel like going back, so I'm lazy. So, that's what this link's for. Upcoming World Yu-Gi-Oh! GX arriving the 28th, which is Thursday. We're really excited for this. We knew it's coming, and now it's confirmed. It seems like we're going to start with 4 or 5 playable characters, 3 who will come with an elemental hero card. There's a trailer, and Samson Yoshida, I forget what his name was in the Oh, it was in Japanese, that's why. But he was called Samson. Third place finisher in the World Championship 2017 for Duel Links. Was at Tokyo Game Show and live tweeting the announcements. He said he basically was the one who announced that it's coming. From what we could tell, you basically start a new stage, right? You start from stage 1 in GX, and there's going to be new standard duelists. Basically start over, but I think you get to bring your old characters in, right?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I haven't really seen much in terms of how the actual gameplay would work. We got a confirmation in the game as well last night, but that didn't really, it didn't explain that to me additionally, more than anything else. So,
yeah, I think in the trailer you saw Jaden fighting Yugi, so that's why I assumed that you could do it.
That's a good point. I figure it'd be weird if you weren't allowed to. I don't know. It seems like you should be able to.
Imagine they separate the card collections. No, that doesn't make sense. That does not make sense. Everyone will quit if that happens.
Well, yeah, or they would just all stay in the old format, I guess. I don't know. That would be a weird way to do it. I guess it would be kind of like the standard versus wild rotation thing that they're doing in Hearthstone. So,
but it's all the cards.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So we're excited about getting the new cards and the characters, and we'll check it out with you guys. Another big news item: desktop version of Duel Links is coming this winter. Samson also tweeted that a desktop version is coming, and it will be compatible with mobile, so you could kind of link up both devices. This is going to be a huge boon to your streaming career.
Yeah, a huge boon. I'm probably going to do it like maybe twice as often, which would be maybe once every couple of weeks. But I really like this feature, not just for my potential streaming, but for also tons of other people who stream. A lot of people are using emulators so that they can essentially do this already, but I'm not that tech savvy and whatever. So I've been linking up my phone to my computer, which works okay, but it causes this problem where I'm trying to stream and I'm looking down at my phone a lot, and I feel like an idiot doing that because the camera view is of the top of my head and I'm starting to go bald. So that's just bad for everyone. And I would much rather, I think it makes for a much better streaming experience if obviously you're still going to be paying attention to the game, but you're at least kind of looking at the camera instead of having to constantly remind yourself to look up and talk to the people there. So I think it's really cool. I think it's also just a step towards making the game a little bit more serious game overall.
Right. And it might help some of the disconnection issues too, possibly.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, if you're on a wired internet, Cool.
And another Datamine of 8 cards was added 2 days ago. We have the gallery here. We're not going to go over the cards, but Elemental Hero, Ojama support, Elemental Hero, Cyber Angel, Ritual. Yeah. So it's there if you want to check them out. 8 cards. They're probably coming with the GX update.
Yeah.
Alright. So now that you got King of Games, we're going to have a little preview here. This is the Duel School. DeckTech's going to teach you something about card games. You're really proud of this deck, and you wrote a lot about it. You're gonna do some. DeckTech's gonna do an expanded thing later. That's either gonna be his stream or a separate thing. But this text is all gonna be here for you to read. But what's so special about your Toon Barrel Dragon deck, 3-star demotion deck that you got King of Games with? What does everyone have to know about this deck?
Right. So we're running long, is why we're doing this kind of abbreviated version. But essentially, I will post my deck list in the notes, and we also will have an entire write-up in the notes so you can check it out. It's about the deck type generally of the Toon Barrel Dragon 3-star demotion decks. There's kind of 3 major builds, and it's about my deck specifically which is the machine version. And I made one specific tweak to it that kind of made for a couple other changes as well. And that tweak was that I added a double summon so that I could run Planet Pathfinder, and that would allow me to more frequently get the Toon Kingdom and the Toon Barrel Dragon out on the same turn, which is a very powerful play just generally, but especially in the mirror match and in any sort of, it allows you to attack directly. So it's very powerful just generally, and it protects your Toon Barrel Dragon. So it's a great play in that sense as well. To make up for these extra kind of fluff cards, and also just as a good counter to the meta, I also added Ultimate Providence and Divine Wrath, so that I can kind of discard those extra cards if I draw them at the wrong time and don't need them, but also so that I can take care of bad matchups like the Phoenix matchup, so that I can help shore up the mirror match by countering another Toon Barrel Dragon if they don't have the Toon Kingdom up. And just for making sure I have lethal, I countered a few Sphere Kuribos with it as well. So let's see if there's any other highlights I want to hit before we close it out. I talk about the different builds. I got fairly into that. I talked about the core of the deck. There's kind of 11 to 13 core cards in the machine version, which are 3 Toon Barrel Dragon, 1 or 2 Sphere Kuriboh, 2 or 3 Sergeant Electro, the Toon Kingdom, the Toon Table of Contents, 2 or 3 Rare Metamorph, Windstorm of Edequa, and Curse of Anubis. And that kind of gave me my room for, let's see, I had, I think, 2 Planet Pathfinders and 2 double summons and 2 of the, 1 of each of the traps. So there's a bit of room to play with it. I kind of considered the Pathfinder and the double summon to be a tweak on the deck, whereas the traps are a little bit more of like a tech choice to counter the meta that I was seeing there. I talked a bit about the climb and the general meta as well. General tips on when you should attack, what you should attack, what you should use his ability against, and when. And the specific matchups as well that I saw most frequently. So, like Green Ranger said, I kind of wrote a lot. It got away from me a little bit. So we can't cover it all here, but you can definitely check it out. And I will try to come up with some way to kind of talk more in depth about it so you don't have to read it all, because I know some people don't feel like reading. Too long did not read. It's going to be at the end of these show notes.
Yeah, you're not going to see this type of detail anywhere else. You're only going to see it here. Like, I've never seen such detail. Like, they're probably talking about it in a video that's hours long, but this is some. I'm not even saying this just because we're podcast partners, but this is a lot of stuff. Like, this is super detailed.
It's a couple pages, yeah.
Yeah, so if you really want to, yeah, it's going to be on our website. All this stuff is great stuff. If you want to learn that deck.
Yeah, if you want to learn, I guess the last thing is that I had a small section on cards that are good for countering Toon Barrel Dragon. So you can read this to learn how to play it, how people should be playing it, which will help you learn how to play against it, and also just to get some quick hits on cards that you want to play against it. Of course, the meta is probably going to be shifting at least a little bit with these new cards that have just come out, but so far, I think you can probably still play this deck and use this guide to get yourself to higher ranks in the last week of the season.
Right. Yeah, you see this type of deck, not exactly your build, but you see this type of deck in Legend all the time, and they're pretty much doing their thing without interruption. So hopefully the new cards stay away for now.
Yes, hopefully for the people who read this anyway.
Yep, so it's all there, and that's going to be the show for today. You can find us on iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, or other things. Oh yeah, shout out to Sophering for giving out that 5-star review. That's...
Yeah.
Shout out. Wrap up today Find us on iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, and other things. Check out the podcast and more, and that guide that we just talked about at theduelassessment.wordpress.com. We have a YouTube channel. If you want to listen to this there and look at one picture, we have the link there. As we mentioned before, you can help support us at Patreon, patreon.com/duel_assessment. Send us an email, duelassessment@gmail.com, and you can find us on Twitter, duel_assessment, me at Green Ranger HS, and DeckTech at HS DeckTech.
That's right. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, guys. Enjoy. See you.